standards. I think it's 6. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So this is the review for the support assessment quiz, which will be due this Sunday. I want to go ahead and get y'all to get it knocked out before finals week. It's not going to be bad. I mean, it's going to be 10 questions. Here is the first one. Y graph by plotting the points. Y equals 3x minus 9. So you can either make an XY chart or you can just go to Y equals and clear out that last graph that we had in there and type in this one. So at the Y equals, type in 3x minus 9. And let's graph it. We're just going to see that it's going to be a line. Now, what you want to do, since it says to graph by plotting points, hit second, and then hit the graph button again. That's going to give you a table, and you just pick any of those 2 points that you want. Okay, I'm going to go to where my numbers are, looks like between 20 and negative 20, because that's what the graph is. So just choose any of these points. Okay, so I could choose 4, 3, and 5, 6. Again, you can pick any of them. Now, remember, when you are doing Math Lab, the first thing you're going to have to do is come over here and click on the line tool. And then it's going to tell you to plot 2 points. It's looking like, if I'm just going by what's on here, that the hash marks are going to be funny on this one. If that's 4, that means all these hash marks are going by 2s. But remember, when you are plotting points on Math Lab, up in the top right-hand corner, it's going to tell you where your cursor is, right? Where you want your cursor on the first one to be at 4, 3. So you just want to make sure when you plot that first point that it says 4, 3 in that area up in the top right-hand corner. Then put another one at 5, 6. So to the right 5, up 6. So again, it's going to be hard to tell just by looking at your cursor. So I would definitely use that area up there to let me know where my cursor is. And once you plot that second point, it'll connect them for you. Right? Number 2 says solve using the addition principle. You're just solving for x here. Negative 25 equals x minus 11. So you're getting the x by itself. So get rid of that minus 11 with a plus 11. So there's your x all by itself. If you're not comfortable with this, remember, this is an assessment quiz. It'll be averaged into your quiz average. So it's not going to count like your final exam or anything. It'll just be averaged in with the rest of your quizzes for the semester. So negative 25 plus 11 gives me what? Negative 14. Okay, we already did number 1, but this is number 2. And all we did is just solve it. You're just solving for x. So we got rid of that minus 11 with a plus 11 on both sides.
Okay, did you say that's number 2?
That was number 2.
Okay.
Okay, number 3. You have c plus 2 times c plus 3. So we're just FOILing here. My first, c times c, gives me c squared. My adder, c times positive 3, gives me positive 3c. My inner, 2 times c gives me positive 2c. And my last, 2 times 3 gives me positive 6. And then put your c's in the middle together. So I've got c squared. I've got 3 here and 2 here. I actually have 5 c's. Bring down my plus 6. Number 4. Find the slope and the y-intercept. You have y equals 2x plus 6. The good thing about this one, it's already in your slope-intercept form. If the y is by itself, the number in front of x is your slope. So your slope is 2. The y-intercept is the number in the B position, the number that's, in other words, it's the number not hooked onto x, okay? And it's already got, when you're typing this in, it's got this for you. It just has a blank right there. So you just put whatever number that is at the end, or the number that doesn't have the x on it. Just be careful. If it's minus, it's going to be a negative number. So this one is just a positive 6. Number 5, find the slope of the line. And we're given 2 points. If you're asked to find the slope of a line and the information that you're given is 2 points, you're going to use this. This formula. There's my 2 points at 1, 3 and 10, 8. Okay, the biggest mistake on these is just plugging numbers in the wrong spots. Okay, getting all your x's and y's and 1s and 2s all mixed up. So I highly suggest before you start trying to plug numbers in, you label. If this is a point, what does it have? It's got an x and a y, right? All points have an x coordinate and a y coordinate, which means so does this one. Then just call one of your points your first point and give it the 1s. Call the other point your second point and give it the 2s. Now, when you go to plug into the formula, everything's labeled for you. So let's see. My slope is equal to, what number is in my second y position? 8. Go ahead and put your minus, because that's what the formula says. You are going to have a minus there. What's in your first y position?
1. Sorry, 2. It's 3, sorry.
3.
I had that written down.
Oh, we're now doing the same thing with your x's. What's in your second x position?
10.
10. Go ahead and put your minus.
1.
What's in your first x position?
1.
1. And then just do the math. 8 minus 3 is 5. 10 minus 1 is 9. So your slope is 5/9. Number 6. Factoring the trinomial. You get c squared plus 11c plus 18. So it's got 3 terms. That's what makes it a trinomial. But the good news is that it does just start off with c squared, which means when I factor this, there's only one way to get c squared. It's going to have to be c and c. Now remember, the next thing is you want to find the numbers that do 2 things. Multiply to 18 and at the same time add to 11. Right. So if I have 18 and 1, 9 and 2, 6 and 3 is my options, right? That's how you multiply to get 18. Which one of these pairs adds to 11? 9 and 2, and they do both need to be positive, right? So, and it doesn't matter where that positive 9 and 2 go. They can go in either spot. Okay, now this leads into the next one, but we actually always just use our quad for this. If it says, this one said to factor. This one says to solve. If you are solving and it's squared, that's when you can use your quad, right? So I have a squared plus 2a plus 1 equals 0. Another clue that you're not using quad here, you're writing out the factors, is there's no equal sign. You're not solving for C. This one has an equal sign. So you are solving for A. So I can use quad, or I could factor, and then set my factors equal to 0. A and A for A squared. Numbers that multiply to equal 1, which means I only have one option. 1 times 1. But that works, right? Because that does add to 2. Oh, this is different. When I set those equal to 0 and solve them, what do they both give me?
Negative.
They both give me -1, right? Oh, what am I doing? 0. Subtracting 1 from both sides, so A equals -1. And A equals -1, okay? Which means the only answer that you need to put in is -1. You don't need to repeat yourself. Number 8. Use synthetic division to divide. We've got c to the 3rd minus 7c squared plus 36c minus 14 divided by c minus 3. Now remember, when we did synthetic division, that's when we had this long division symbol, right? These are going to be the coefficients that I use inside this division symbol. The number that I put out here was the opposite of this. If it said c minus 3, I put a positive 3 out here. So use the opposite of that sign. If it would have been c plus 3, you would have put a -3 out here. Now, use the coefficients of all these terms. So this one will be a 1, -7, 36, and -14. And then we did the synthetic division. You always just drop down whatever's in the first spot. That's what gets you going. So I have 3 times 1, and I'll put my answer here. So 3. Then add that straight down. -7 plus 3 gives me -4, and then I'll do it again. 3 times -4 gives me -12. 36 and -12 gives me 24. And then do it again. 3 times 24, and put your answer there. What is it?
72.
72. This number that ends up at the very end right there is going to be your remainder. So what do I have? Negative 4. What is it? 58. So that's your remainder. These numbers are coefficients of the polynomial or the group of terms that's left starting 1 degree less than this. So if that's a 1, it's going to start off with c squared minus 4c plus 24, and then there's a remainder of 58. And that one's multiple choice. All right, 2 more. Oh no, this one, translate to an algebraic expression, 40 more than n.
N plus, I'm sorry, yeah, N plus.
It'll take it either way, too. If you are 40 more than something, how would you write that out mathematically? N plus 40 or 40 plus n. It'll take it either way. All right, last one. Simplify by removing factors of 1. What we're going to do here is factor and cancel. We've got y squared minus 6y plus 5 over y squared plus 8y minus 9. So what you're going to do is put both of those trinomials in their factored form. And then if one of the factors in the top is the same as one of the factors in the bottom, they'll cancel. So that's why I just like to call this factor, then cancel. So up top, y squared, so it's just y and y. Be careful with this one. How do you multiply to get 5? There's only one way. I guess actually 2 ways. That gives you 5. But look what they have to add to. Negative 6, which means what do these both need to be? They both need to be negative, right? That's how they're going to add to negative 6. It doesn't mess up my positive 5, right? Because this, a negative times a negative, still going to multiply to positive 5. But if you're going to add that 5 and 1 to get negative 6, they both need to be negative. So it doesn't matter which way they go. Minus 5 minus 1. Now let's also factor the bottom. Y and y for y squared. Now I'm using 9. Don't worry about the negative yet. So that's how you multiply to get 9. It's going to be a negative 9, which means if I'm multiplying to equal a negative, I've got to have one positive number and one negative number. So that's when I'd say, okay, what am I going to have to add to? Positive 8. First of all, which pair are you going to knock out? It's not going to be the 3 and 3, right? You're not going to be able to get an 8 with those. So now, remember, we got one positive and one negative to work with. We need these numbers, so just try them both ways. If I do that and that, 9 minus 1 is going to give me 8. So if you need to, just try it both ways and see which one's going to, one way is going to give you negative 8, one way is going to give you positive 8. So just make sure you do the sign that gives you positive 8, which means I need a positive 9 and a negative 1. It doesn't matter which way they go. The y minus 1s cancel, which just means you have y minus 5 over y plus 9. Okay?
Now you need to put it in parentheses.
No.
Okay.
You don't need to put those in parentheses. If there would have been more than one factor left, then you would put them in parentheses.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so that I did put due this Sunday, so that way you would just get it out of the way. The review for the final exam, is it? If it's due Sunday, I need to change it because I don't want it to be due before you take